Thank you so much for joining us, you that were able, and we are so excited to get this tour going, starting in 2024. So yeah, this shouldn't be a long meeting. We just want to go over some important points. A couple things that have actually come up in recent exhibits that I really want to touch on. I think it's important to follow proper procedures and such. So we'll try to make this short. And thank you for being here.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, so as Pam stated, Pam's our executive director for NDAGA. I'm the current board president. If you ever have any questions while you're working on your tour materials, Pam's available for any Q&A. And also, when we'll touch on this in the presentation, but if there are NDAGA member galleries in your area, and those are all listed on the NDAGA website, we have representatives at those galleries that are also willing to assist with questions, tour concerns, and anything that might come up. All right, do you want to share the PowerPoint, Pam, or do you want me to do that?
If I can figure it out, how about you share it?
Okay. All right, give me a second.
I'm a Zoom novice.
It's okay. Okay. So Pam, I'll let you take it from here, and then if you want me to cover any specific individual sections, just let me know.
Okay, so I made a little tour guide for us today. It's not gonna let me forward this. There we go. So just some of the things we want to touch on are condition report books that are required for each exhibit, artwork labels, artist statement and biographies, digital images of each of the works in your exhibit, appropriate hanging methods for your artwork, super important because we want to keep your artwork safe. Appropriate packing methods, again, we want to keep your artwork safe. Extra programming or promo materials that you might want to include with your exhibits, our sales procedures, mileage reimbursement, and the importance of artist receptions. Still not letting me click. There we go. So the condition report book, I'm going to let Greg talk about this a little bit because he has more experience with it. I have experience on the gallery side of it, but I don't want to forget anything. So Greg, would you cover this for me?
Absolutely. So along with, you've received your acceptance letters of your shows for tour. And shortly you'll be receiving kind of the artist packet from Pam. Unless
they have that, actually.
They have that. Okay. So
Yep.
Part of that kind of artist packet is a condition report book. And this will be a PDF file. And then eventually, once it's the initial inventory and pages are filled out by you for your show, it'll be a printed version that travels along with your show that tracks the condition of all of your pieces as they move from gallery to gallery and then when they're on exhibit. And you know, in a perfect world, nothing happens and your pieces are just as great in the same shape as
Hi, Jeff. The only thing wrong is that I don't have my picture up on the screen.
Hold on, Marilyn. Okay. But things do happen, and this condition report book can track that. And then when you receive your show back, you'll have that record of any incidents that happened with work, what pieces may have sold while they're on exhibit, and then provides that record of kind of the travel for the show. The specific condition report book that we use is a PDF document. And to fill that out there at the beginning of that PDF document is kind of a set of instructions, downloading Acrobat Reader or having Acrobat DC The Adobe Acrobat program is going to be the best way to fill that out. Once you fill out your inventory sheet for it, it should populate all of your title, medium, artwork information to each individual page of the condition report book. So you don't have to continually fill out each page for each artwork. And then on each page for your artwork is a place to insert a JPEG image of the piece, so it can be identified by site by the galleries that receive it. And that works best if it's a kind of a reduced size, like low res version, because then the takes less time to place the image into the PDF file, and then also makes for a smaller PDF document overall. Do you want to go ahead and let's see, so you have,
I put the links in there even though they have them, but I thought it
here quick
just for reference.
Yeah. So this is the additional pages. I'm going to just go to the instructions part quick here.
Okay.
So the first page of that condition report book PDF is just the instructions for completing the condition report. This information with the exhibition title, artist name, that's fillable. That's like a fillable PDF. And then this inventory list for your show, artist, exhibition title, filling out the title, size, medium, year, if the piece is for sale or not, the price of the work. And even if it's not for sale, we still need a value for the piece in there just for insurance purposes. And then also, if it is if it's in crated cartons or boxes, what crate number or box number that piece is in. Even if you're self-delivering your work, if you're putting that in packing materials and containers, it's helpful to have that just so when galleries unpack and pack work, that it can be packed in the same place, in the same way as when it was received. There's a little bit on filling out condition reports. So if you're new to like gallery and museums, exhibiting, you might not be familiar with condition reports or how to fill one out. The artist is responsible for just providing an initial condition for their piece. And this is more because this is a touring show and we're looking at pieces that might be framed. This kind of goes in a little bit on filling out the condition reports. And here would be just the example kind of first page for the first artwork, object 1, with the condition. So NDAGA or originating institution, this would be filled out by the artist. So your initial condition, and this first box is also a fillable PDF format. So initial condition might be, if it's newly framed work, brand new, might be excellent. If there's any major things, like if you're touring a piece where it's a painting on a stretched canvas and there's, you know, on the side of the painting, there might be a little defect or a rip in the canvas, and that's just the starting condition of the work, you'd want that to be noted. So our galleries that are touring the show wouldn't assume that it had been damaged at their facility, or if that the result of that was at their facility. So one of the handy things is all of the information on these individual condition report book pages is going to fill in from that initial inventory list page. So you shouldn't have to enter it more than once. Before you print the condition report book, you can print it. It can go in a binder or a folder that tours along with your show. Before it's printed, it'll need to be sent to Pam at the NDAGA address just to check it and review. And then that digital file would go on our end. So we have the complete inventory for the show and for the galleries. Okay. All right.
Thank you, Greg.
We'll keep going here. Artwork labels.
So working at the James for the past 3 years, I've seen quite a variety of different labels, different sizes, and It's not a strict thing. I think just that they're professional looking and neat. And I think the most important thing about labels is that they are able to withstand a tour, because they're going to be placed up and taken down so many times. We don't want them on flimsy paper. A better quality cardstock or even foam core I've seen, and they seem to handle a lot better than just a lightweight cardstock even.
And this, so with the touring shows, if the artist, like if you don't have the capability to print and cut labels and mount them to foam core cardstock or mat board, or you'd like to do a little bit different method, we've had shows that have toured with like semi-transparent labels that are on like peel and stick. We've had shows tour with laminated labels. We also, if requested by a touring artist, we have a label template that we can provide that's just going to be a label template where you would put the information in. It has one example label, and then that template could be emailed back to us. We would send it to the first gallery location that's touring your show, and then they could produce those labels for the exhibition, and then they would just tour with the show.
Yes, absolutely. Several exhibits here at the James, I've printed off the labels. It is nice to have them already formatted, however, by the artist. Yep. And I think that can be something that's discussed with each individual gallery by the artist, is if they're willing to print, if you do not have the means to do so. If that's necessary. So,
and that can be something that's just requested on an artist by artist basis, because sometimes depending on the type of exhibition, an artist may have a really specific way that they want their labels to look that matches other exhibition materials, or if it's a show that's touring that was sponsored by a gallery or museum, they might have a specific style. Right. We have a template that can be provided if you're interested in that. Go ahead, Pam. I think that's on my
title, medium size, and price. If it's for sale, I think are the important factors on that label.
Yeah, I think that's
right.
Ready for next. Okay.
Your artist statement and biography. I think probably all of you have done these previously. Greg, do we have kind of guidelines as far as how long they should be? Because most of them that I've seen are like 3 to 4 paragraphs and will fit easily on a page. Is that pretty standard?
Anywhere, like generally for artist statement and biography, and it depends kind of too on the artist. Some people will combine a bio and artist statement in one. Some people have separate bio and artist statements, but anywhere from 250 to 500 words is generally like kind of the accepted. And so this artist statement and biography is what the galleries will be using for their press release, for their exhibition materials that they might be using to promote your show. So it's important, and some of this, along with like a CV, is already submitted when you propose the show. So we should have these, but if there's any that are missing, Pam would reach out and let people know.
Right, or if there's anything you want to change on it.
Yeah, anything that needs to be updated or changed specific to the show. Sometimes an artist statement will tailor to a specific body of work or to specific exhibition, whereas the one that was proposed with the show might have been a more general statement.
Correct. And again, in my experience, I use these, mostly the artist statements. I use them for everything from printing out to go with the exhibits to the information I put on our website. We use them for our social media, sometimes our member postcards. They're very important to the galleries, so people can have as much information about you as an artist as possible. it's a very good thing to create and have. Digital images of each work. All of you have submitted several images of your proposed exhibits, so we have those. I will just retouch on what Greg said about the condition report. We asked specifically for high-res images when you submitted, and to put them in the condition report, it's very, very helpful to use low-res images for that condition report, because not only does it help the file reduce in size, but it will also load much faster. So you may have to do a little bit of work of reducing the size of those images.
And having the digital images of each piece in the show, and having those images titled with like the title of the piece, helps our galleries for, you know, if they're doing promotional work, putting posters together, postcards, social media posts, to have those high-res copies of the work for the pieces that are touring.
Yes, in fact, if you submitted images for your proposed exhibit and you did not title them with the title of the piece, please resubmit those with the titles of the pieces.
If there are any that did that, I'm sure you could reach out to Pam and just,
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, this is a biggie, packing your show. We've run into a few instances just recently with some resulting damage, not serious damage, but some damage to art pieces because of the packing. So if you plan to self-deliver, it's just as important to pack your show correctly as it is if it were going to be shipped. Greg, I'll let you talk about the shipping packing, I think, and then I will touch on the self-delivery packing.
Okay. So yeah, so NDAGA has, so if you're packing for shipping, there's a couple of considerations, and NDAGA has resources if you're looking to ship and you haven't done crate construction or packed a large amount of artwork for shipping. We accept wooden crates for shipping. We accept like sturdy cardboard cartons that are adequately buffered with, like, you know, insulating foam inside, along with separators for the pieces. So if there are any questions about if you want your show to ship and you need maybe assistance or resources for preparing that show for shipping, we have crating guidelines and numerous resources for packing for shipping. Pamela, you take soft packing for like self-delivery.
I do want to mention, however, since we switched to speedy delivery, anything but a cardboard box, they charge extra for. So if it's a wooden crate, it is much more expensive. So I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah. So NDAGA uses for kind of the primary shipping, we utilize speedy delivery, which is our North Dakota service area, and it fits pretty good. And normally they're really cost effective. However, where it starts to get a little bit more is when we get into oversized crates, crates that weigh more than 50 pounds. So if you're packing your show for shipping, we have some size guidelines and stuff too, if it's stuff that's not already crated. If it's something where you've had the body of work and it's toured, or you have crates, we can make it work for shipping. So if you have crates and that's what you were planning to use, don't let that stop you from using those crates. You wouldn't have to recrate the entire show. It's just something that we would need to know in advance of the tour starting, the size of the crates, the weight of the crates, how many crates, if it's going to be shipped. So, and keeping in mind that, yes, for wooden crates, or I think it's crates over the weight of 50 pounds, there's oversized fees for speedy delivery. And NDAGA does cover the shipping, so, but it's helpful to us to know what's coming so that we can prepare for it.
Yes, and speaking of weights, we need to know the dimensions of each box or crate and its weight. So that's important to note if you are packing for shipping, to include that information with those boxes. Packing for self-delivery, of course, does not have to be as strict, because we have a little bit more control on that. Packing vertically is always better with your artwork. However, we understand that that's not always possible. If you are going to pack with your items stacked, please, please, please not only wrap them to keep them safe, but place something solid in between each piece, such as cardboard or foam core or anything really that will keep those pieces from touching one another, even though they are wrapped. I just had some artwork not too long ago that was not framed. It is on canvas, and because they were stacked, even though they were individually wrapped in plastic, there was some denting that occurred because there was nothing to keep them from touching one another. And the weight of those can get pretty heavy on one another. So just keep the safety of your artwork in mind when you are packing. Greg, do you have anything to add to that?
When considering like soft packing or packing for delivery, it's still very helpful to have work containered in some way, because that organizes it when it enters the gallery. It gives something if it needs to be stored between shows. So depending on like the size of the work, if you're self-delivering, you might have maybe some individual larger paintings that are not in a container or crated or in a carton. But if they're smaller works, it does definitely help to have them better protected in a container of some sort. And also having them individually protected either by bubble wrap or other packing materials is definitely needed. So things to not do is bring all your work individual, separate, in maybe just bagged, or maybe not even.
Which I've had.
We've had that before. But even if you're self-delivering your work, it should be adequately protected between venues with either packing materials or containers.
Yes.
We have some soft packing guidelines too that can be provided as well, or instructions for soft packing. Okay, I'm going to move to our next slide. I'm not sure what's going on with our Zoom license, but it's telling me that I'm only got a little bit of time left, so we might have to. I'm not quite certain why that's doing that, but
I'm not sure.
I have a Zoom license through the university, but I don't know if my license is not. I didn't log in correctly.
Just really quick, I know, for instance, Greg Walter has some extra promo materials and items to go with his exhibit. So just know that that's okay to do so. If you want to add little pamphlets, if you want to add books, things like that to go with your exhibit, that's totally fine. Galleries welcome that, and it actually is a bigger draw to your exhibit. People love the little extras that go with that. And also, if you want to offer a demonstration of some kind, an art class, a talk even, get with the gallery and discuss that with them, because I think from listening to our member galleries, they're all very interested in those things. So please keep that in mind.
Yeah. And for example, like, yeah, so with your exhibitions, NDAGA is going to be the agency that's facilitating the touring of the shows, getting the artwork from one place to the next. If it's shipping, working with you and the member galleries to facilitate communication. But if you're scheduling or looking at artist receptions or exhibition receptions or other events that are associated with your exhibition, like if you work with the gallery that's hosting the show for classes or demonstration or artist talks. All of that organization and scheduling will be done with the host gallery. So when you get your booking schedules, you can see, and there'll be contact information for each gallery to kind of organize if you have an exhibition reception that they're holding, if there's any other associated programming that goes with that. So, and NDAGA might facilitate or organize the conversation or getting people in touch with each other if that's needed, but that scheduling for exhibition events is done with the host gallery.
As it says in your contracts, NDAGA keeps 30% of your total art sales and splits that evenly with the host gallery that the art sale originates at. So you will get 70% from each sale. All art sales will be paid to you at the conclusion of your tour. Any added promotional materials like we just talked about, if you have books that you want to put with your exhibit, anything like that, we don't keep a commission on. That is something that is discussed with the gallery individually. I know here at the James, we don't keep a commission on any kind of those sales. However, I don't know how all the other galleries operate. So are we running out of time, Greg?
I'm going to post another link in the chat, and then I'll send it to you quick and we can email it out to everybody, and then we'll get started again. I really apologize for that inconvenience. I'm not certain what happened with our Zoom license. I just want to mention that any other items that you have for sale with your exhibition that aren't your artwork that's in the exhibition, like if you have a catalog, if you have books, if there are maybe some extraneous exhibition promotional materials that you have for sale, like special posters, that's all handled between the artist and the exhibiting gallery. NDAGA only takes the commission that's split between NDAGA and the host gallery for artwork sales, and that 30% is a pretty standard, pretty low actually for the commissions. One thing about artwork sales, in Pam, if you had mentioned this earlier, but when an artwork is sold, the artist needs to make the determination with the buyer, or the gallery needs to ask the buyer, because the artwork should stay with the exhibition through the length of the tour. However, if the artist is willing to replace that piece with a piece similar before the show reaches the next venue, that's a decision that the artist can make on an individual basis. But if there's a piece that's removed from the exhibition because it's sold, it'll need to be replaced before the work goes to the next gallery in the booking schedule. So sometimes it can be, depending on what the work is, it can be easier for the artist to have that remain with the tour. And then depending on at the end of the tour, often the gallery where the work was sold at can facilitate getting that piece to the buyer at the end of the tour. I'll just mention this so the artists know. So the host gallery, if they sell a work, they'll have a sales form that they'll fill out with the buyer and record that sale. So if I know that it can be part of an artist's methods to be, track where their pieces are in whose collection. So that information, if somebody purchases a work, can be available from NDAGA too, if that's something the artist is interested in.
Yes, and one thing I just thought of is the W-9. And I don't know that I mentioned that in the emails that I sent out to everyone.
So yeah, that is something that NDAGA will need from each artist, both for honorarium payments, sales, payment for sales, that kind of mileage reimbursements, all of those will require a W-9 on file from each artist.
Yes, thank you.
Yep. Okay.
Mileage reimbursement, the most confusing part of everything, but I think we have it ironed out, and I think it's fairly easy now. So you will be responsible to get your exhibit to the first gallery, the first venue. As Greg mentioned before, we will help with shipping between galleries if that's necessary, or you can certainly self-deliver. We have several artists that self-deliver right now, and several that we ship for. So either way, we can help you with that. It has to be, though, Greg, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it has to be reimbursed from gallery to gallery, right? From venue to venue only.
So NDAGA reimburses so the artist is responsible for the show to the first venue, whether that's being delivered by the artists themselves or if it's shipping from the artist to the first gallery. So that's responsible for the artist. NDAGA covers the cost from then on when the exhibition is traveling between venues. So it's artwork in car from venue to venue. And then that's reimbursed at the state rate up to $100 per gallery. So I'll open the reimbursement form, and this kind of outlines the procedure a little bit too. So it's up to the artist. Here's the NDAGA mileage reimbursement. This has been sent out. It's available on the NDAGA website. You can request your mileage after each incident of travel, or you can just request it at the end of the tour, whatever most convenient for the artist. But you'd have your date, travel reason, the where you'd pick up the show and where you're going. So if the show was in Grand Forks, and then it's traveling to Bismarck, your origin would be Grand Forks, destination would be Bismarck, and then the mileage from city to city. It's not reimbursed for round trip. So if you go to pick up your show, transport it to the next gallery, and then travel home, it's only reimbursed for the time in which the exhibition is in route from gallery to gallery. And this also is if you pick up a show, take it home, wait for the next route, and then take it to the next gallery, and there's a period in there where the exhibition is at your residence or in storage, we would still reimburse, but it would just be for up to the mileage between gallery to gallery. So that's kind of our mileage limit. And then there's an example. So a tour with 3 exhibitions, Minot, Williston, Bismarck, would be paid 3 reimbursements. Minot to Williston, Williston to Bismarck, and then for round trip pickup at the end of the tour. So at the end of the tour, we would reimburse for total mileage, or up to total mileage for the round trip pickup.
Yeah, the notes explain it very clearly, I believe, on that form.
And this the mileage reimbursement kind of ties in with the shipping. So NDAGA would, if you were shipping your show, NDAGA would cover the return of the exhibit to you at end of tour if the show is shipping.
Yes. Artist receptions. Here at the James, we like to schedule the artist receptions either at the opening of the show, or sometimes we will do a closing reception just to make it easier on the artist if they have a long ways to travel. So that is something else that is totally between the venue and the artist to discuss. Galleries should be reaching out to you as artists to schedule receptions. And from our experience here, I just feel it's very important for the artists to be at the reception if it's at all possible. People love to visit with the artists. They love to hear about them. They love to, as I mentioned before, maybe get a little demonstration or at least a talk. I just think it's
More-
something very important. How do you guys deal with that at Northwest, Greg?
So at the Northwest Art Center, as being part of a university and teaching institution, it's our practice for, if it's possible, we'll invite the artists, we'll schedule an exhibition along with potentially artist presentation or talks. And it is very important. We don't sell a lot of work being a higher ed institution. We still do allow for sales, which is sometimes not the norm for universities. But at events where the artists attend, like exhibition receptions, other events like that, gallery talks, we also find through NDAGA that that's usually when most of your work is sold too, as an artist. So it can be beneficial to be there for those events.
Yes, and we all know what North Dakota winters look like. So, I mean, exceptions are made.
Yep, of course. It's not.
But it is an important thing to consider for sure.
It's encouraged, but it's not a requirement for the artist to attend gallery openings, receptions. But it is very much encouraged, and it makes for a great way to promote your work, and etc. So. All right. I think, is that our last slide? Are we to
That
Q&A?
may have been the last slide.
Yeah, that's our last slide. I'd like to go over one other document quick that or at least outline this quickly from the North Dakota Art Gallery Association website. So on the website, we have a resources link.
Thank you.
It's available just on the top link bar. So you click on resources, and it has a majority or all of the forms that we've gone over. So there's specifically, there's the mileage reimbursement form. Let's see, mileage reimbursement. But the one that I wanted to look at particularly and go over is this kind of artist exhibitor traveling exhibition checklist. So this is something that Pam, and this was emailed out to every artist along with their contract and
I believe so. Yep.
okay, so you all should have this kind of traveling exhibition checklist, and this goes through and kind of outlines the various steps and stages when you're preparing your tour for exhibition that we kind of need to have in place. So like the first thing is, verifying the information on your contract, signing and returning that to NDAGA with a completed W-9 form, and then prior to 3 months to the start of your tour, and we all know how time can be sometimes, but the sooner that digital materials are to NDAGA, the sooner we can get these digital materials to member galleries, and then they can start getting promotional materials ready for your show. And this includes the aforementioned artist statement, biography, and some of this would have been maybe provided with the proposal, but if you want to make updates, here's the time to do so. And then any promotional materials that you've developed for your show, interpretive text, maybe exhibition statement if you have any, and then object labels. And then normally our hosting galleries, museums, venues will be creating postcards, posters, and other promotional material for your show. However, if you have existing materials or want to have that creative control to design your own materials, that's something that the artist can do for that poster, postcard. And we talked about object labels previously. If you'd like a template for object labels, we do have a poster and postcard template, but that's usually given to our members, member galleries. But we can provide the template for the artwork labels, object labels. Next is listed the condition report book. And then there's a checklist for kind of if shipping, and then also a checklist for if self-delivering. And then that final checklist there, 1 month prior to the start of your tour, looking over. And this is a great list just to make sure that you're hitting all the marks that you need for the exhibition. You've got all your materials taken care of, and nothing is getting left undone.
Right, and you were gonna mention about local galleries and helping
Oh, yeah.
assist.
Yes, absolutely. So on the NDAGA website, let me just go back here. So let's see, under the About section on the NDAGA website is a listing of our current member galleries. So it goes through all member galleries that are active members and might be currently touring your show or are on the schedule to tour it. If there are any that are in your area, it's an option that if you need help or have questions about touring the show, portions of the requirements for artists, if you have any questions like that, we can put you in touch with the member representative for kind of that's near you, and they can answer questions, provide assistance. I know for some artists, they've assisted with the condition report process, putting that condition report book together, assisting with that. But generally, we're all happy to be a resource in helping artists put together their touring shows for our member galleries.
Absolutely. We actually discussed this in length, I think, at our annual meeting this year, and all of the galleries that were present were more than willing to help out the artists in any way that they possibly could. So please remember that as a resource.
And also, if you have questions while you're putting materials together, Pam is a resource. She should be contacted first, but I'm more than willing to help out artists in my area, or if artists specifically reach out to myself as questions, other members of the current NDAGA board too. So, all right. There anything else that we wanted to cover specifically, Pam, at this point? And then we'll open it up to general questions. All right. Does anybody attend this today? Question Q&A time. If anybody has any questions specifically about something that we've covered or something that we haven't covered.
I have a question.
Okay. Right.
So I'm booked at four different venues right now. Is it possible that my show will get picked up after the first tour again, or
Yeah.
how does it?
So yes, well, one of the options that if there's a show that's currently touring, and the artist would like to have it available for more bookings. So you have 4 currently. And sometimes, because not all of our member galleries attend the annual meeting when we propose the shows, and some of them pick up shows like if there's a change in their schedule and they maybe wanted an exhibition, but they weren't able to book it initially, things change. So your exhibition is always open for more bookings from a member gallery. And you can also opt to have it kind of up for selection again at the next annual meeting. So depending on your schedule, where that leaves kind of where the show is, I'm not completely familiar with your touring schedule, but it can always be reoffered. And it's not, if it's a show that's already touring, there's not a proposing cost that's associated with that. It's just kind of listed, here are our currently touring shows. These are shows where the artist is open to, accepting future bookings or additional bookings for the show.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Eric, where do you live again? Where are you based out of?
I'm in Hillsboro, North Dakota, right
Okay.
between Fargo and Grand Forks.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Do we have any other current questions? And if you encounter any questions while you're working on your materials or getting your show ready, feel free to ask.
I have a question on the alternates. On the contract, you want us to list, how does it state? Indicate the number of artworks that can be withdrawn from the exhibition at the close of a venue. So those, if you indicate 2, and then it says you have to have your alternates listed. Is that 2 per venue if I put 2 down?
Well, it wouldn't necessarily be 2 per venue, but it's intended to be like the total amount of work in the show that you'd be willing to replace if it's sold. And if it didn't remain, this would be if it didn't remain with the exhibit for the remainder of the tour.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And that varies. I mean, it's an individual choice, absolutely. Like Greg, for instance, his exhibit that he proposed, he absolutely can't replace because it's very specific. So, you know, for him, we would probably have to tour those pieces through the whole tour. Several of you have, like Karen, for instance, has a variety of beautiful artwork in the exhibit, and it would probably be a bit easier for you to replace if you so chose to do so.
Yeah, and that's
more beautiful artwork. So
that's entirely up to the artist.
Yeah, entirely.
But one thing I would caution too is you can look at your schedule. So if Pam would have emailed out, and in those documents is your booking schedule. And I see Karen's question here too. The booking schedule will have like the dates and which venues, where it is. So if you have a schedule where there's, you know, maybe you have a 4-month gap, maybe there's a 5-month gap between shows, and you feel you'd be able to replace, you know, a larger amount of work, you can indicate that on the contract as to how many pieces can sell and be removed from the show versus not. Whereas if shows are going directly from venue to venue, you might want to indicate either a lower number or have additional work ready to replace those pieces. So it's kind of up to the artist. And sometimes, it's not too often that the ability to take it home immediately is going to affect somebody's purchase. Like sometimes people will be like, well, I'll only buy it if I can take it home tonight. But we have had, I mean, as long as the buyer knows that the work is going to get to them at the end of the tour, it's going to be handled by the gallery where they purchase the piece at, they can then pick it up at that gallery at the end of the tour. It's usually not an issue for the work to continue touring. And sometimes it's even kind of like, you know, hey, the piece is going to go on, it's going to be seen by more people. Yeah, so it's usually not an issue. Sometimes when it is, though, we always, like, one of our goals is to have our artists, you know, make money and have the show be productive and good for them from that standpoint. So we do like to be able to have at least some pieces that maybe somebody could be able to, like, you know, replace 1 or 2 pieces, and have. So if there is that where somebody wants to be able to take one home, then they can still make that sale for you. So.
And to answer your other question, Karen, how many pieces are typically in an exhibit? In my experience here at the James, that varies greatly. We are I would say a mid-sized venue. We can handle, in our large gallery, 35 to 40 pieces probably in our walls. Some of our member galleries can't handle that many pieces. So a lot of times an exhibit on tour, for instance, will come from somewhere to the James, and we don't have room to exhibit all of the pieces. We will just keep them in a safe storage area until it's moving to the next venue. So I'm not sure that I have enough experience in that area. Greg
I can fill in a little
You
bit.
know what an average,
Yeah, so NDAGA advises, 150 linear feet
linear feet, right?
for display. That's kind of the average size of our institutions. So 75 feet of artwork, 150 for like display. So looking at anywhere, depending on the size of work, anywhere from 20 to 30 to 35 pieces is kind of the average for our NDAGA shows. Our institutional size ranges anywhere from very small rural galleries that only have a limited or in non-traditional like gallery spaces might only be able to do that 60 to 75, but then we do have some larger galleries that are able to support more work, and sometimes in working with those galleries, they might contact you in advance once they see or they might plan the show installation for how many pieces are on your inventory list, or when they initially reach out to you before the show is delivered or arrives, they might say, is there an opportunity to expand the show? So that depends. It depends on the gallery, but it's good to have like your kind of a concrete inventory set of, depending on the size of your work, from kind of 20 to 35 pieces. And some shows are smaller, some shows are larger. And when the galleries book the exhibitions, they have access to your proposal and the amount of included work. And that's kind of, somewhat what they're using to base their booking on, is how much work was in that proposal.
Right.
Yes.
you.
I have one more question from Karen here. It's certainly possible for an artist to have multiple touring shows at one time. However, the show that was proposed, so if specific artwork was used in your proposal, usually that's what the galleries are kind of expecting to be representative of the exhibition. So if you proposed one show that had a certain either subject matter or style of work, that's generally expected what's going to tour. But if you have multiple bodies of work and you want to propose multiple shows, you could certainly propose a second show, but that would be next year at our 2024 annual meeting, because we only hold the booking, that kind of booking session for the initial shows, and those show proposals is done on a seasonal basis. So every year on an annual basis, we should say.
Yes, but absolutely. If you want to propose 10 shows in 1 year.
And I should say, just as a general thing, our galleries love to see work from the same artists and to have artists exhibit again. But oftentimes, if you have a body of work and that has toured, and then you propose another show that's a very similar body of work, it might be less likely to be picked up, because then the galleries would have just exhibited kind of that style. But if you work in multiple mediums or in multiple styles, you can certainly propose multiple shows and they can be sure. Yep.
Maryland's a good example of that right now. This exhibit that's currently touring is an abstract. And her exhibit that got picked up for the next season is florals and watercolors.
Actually, it's florals and pastel.
Yeah.
Pastels, yes.
Pastel.
Sorry.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Okay.
And it's nice to hear that different mediums can be, it's nice to hear that the same artist can propose again in another medium. That's
and this
Yeah.
We don't limit kind of when artists propose or what they want to propose. It's just been in our experience that if it's proposed in back-to-back seasons, or maybe even within 1 to 2 years, oftentimes if it's not significantly different stylistically from a previous show, or if it's not different, I've seen shows not get picked up because it's, oh, well, we just toured their work and this looks very similar to what was previously toured.
Mhm. There's several instances just in the last few years that I can think of, actually. Arvin Davis Jr. has a couple times within the last couple of years. Dina Novak, 2 years in a row, completely different shows. Maryland. So yeah, it's very possible, Karen.
I should note that we have an artist guidelines form that we're currently, or it's not a form, it's like it's a set of notes, like a frequently asked questions. And that we're currently revising that. It was a previous document that NDAGA had in its library it was a little outdated, but it has a lot of good information. We'll be revising that, putting it out on the website. It's going to have more of the information about kind of like the size of show, it's a how-to for kind of a lot of things. And we'll put that out on the website, and I'm sure that Pam can email that out. There was one thing that we didn't get finished.
And you're welcome.
All right. Well, we're excited. We're really excited to have all of you touring in this upcoming season and looking forward to seeing your work. But if you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to reach out to Pam or a member representative for NDAGA in your area. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Yep.